Right, welcome again to Ampocalypse with me, Damian FitzGerald, and today I'm joined by the fantastic Kris Barras of the Kris Barras Band. Now, first of all, how you doing, man?
Yeah, man, all good. Enjoying the sunshine.
See, I am enjoying the sunshine, but it's been a little bit too toasty for this country. I swear blind, we cannot cope unless we're in Benidorm or somewhere like that. I don't know why Benidorm, but it was the hot thing that came to my mind at that moment.
Yeah, it gets pretty toasty in my studio with all these acoustic treatment panels and stuff. But
I could
I
imagine.
do enjoy the sun.
Yeah. Now, at the time of this recording, the new record, Monsters We Made, is about to be released. In fact, it's released next Friday. I think it's the 14th,
That's
I
right. Yeah.
believe. So, first of all, congratulations on the new album, mate.
Thank you very much. Yeah, looking forward to getting out there. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always kind of exciting. You know, you put in so much work and so much time. And yeah, it's great to finally get it out there. And we've been releasing singles since kind of like January, February time. But I feel like the album tells much more of a story than like just the singles. Like I think the singles have been the right choice, the ones that we've released as like standalone songs, but I still don't think they give the full picture of the album. So I'm looking forward to people hearing that and just kind of seeing what people's thoughts are on it.
Cool. Now, obviously, today we are going to be talking about the journey behind, the record, the stories behind, the latest singles as well, and, what fans can expect from the upcoming songs that even I myself have not had the pleasure of hearing. And it does promise to be, an incredibly busy few weeks following that release as well, looking at the schedule I've seen for you. But then after we've talked about the album and the touring and everything else in between, we're going to see how you cope in your very own Ampocalypse. So, Kris, welcome to the show, first of all. Now, I want to talk about, first of all, is the release day. And at the time, as I said, of the interview, Monsters We've Made is just over a week away. And after everything that's gone into the writing, recording, and living these songs, are you at this stage, or are you at the stage where you're simply excited for people to hear them, or are there a few nerves creeping in as release day gets closer?
Nerves aren't really a thing for me. It is what it is. I don't get nervous about things I can't control. Um, People will like it or they won't. I've done my bit. There's nothing more I could do. I'm excited. I'm excited to get it out. Like I said, I feel like there's a lot of different flavors on the album. There's a lot of stuff on there that I've not really done before. And like I said, I don't feel like the standalone singles, whilst I feel like they're probably maybe like the strongest tracks in their own right, in terms of what a single is for radio play and things like that. I feel like the album gives much more of like a bigger picture, a wider picture. There's a much more like variety of things. There's quite a few softer elements on there. There's some big epic kind of orchestral moments. There's some different stuff with, you know, uh, odd time signatures, and there's some things with guitar solos that maybe people haven't heard me do. Kind of going back to some of my influences from my teenage years, guys like Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, and kind of drawing on some of the old, more like shred guitar kind of influences. So yeah, I'm looking forward to people hearing it, and yeah, hopefully people dig it.
Well, if the first half is anything to go by, I can't see why people won't. Now, looking back at, the previous album, Halo Effect, you've spoken about exploring, a heavier, more modern direction, whereas Monsters We Made, it does feel like a bit of a return to those sort of hard rock bluesy influences that, I first heard your band with. Did that sort of help establish things, while still keeping those huge choruses? And, was there a conscious decision, from the beginning to go back to this sort of hard rock bluesy style, or did that sort of happen naturally through the writing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I probably wouldn't use the word like bluesy, but
Okay.
I'd say it kind of. my aim with the album was obviously we went pretty heavy with, or for what I was doing with Halo Effect. A lot more leaning into like modern metalcore elements in some ways, with like production things, and that's what we wanted to do with that album. This one I kind of wanted just to pull it back a little bit, still stay on like the heavy hard rock train, but my kind of aim with it was to sit in between Death Valley Paradise and Halo Effect. That's kind of how I saw it. I actually read a review today which said that they thought it was kind of a little bit lighter than both those albums, which I thought was quite interesting. I kind of see it as like sitting in between those two albums, probably a little bit closer to what we did with Death Valley Paradise in 22. Maybe the fact that typically I'd probably only have like one slower ballady type track on album, where there's probably three that could sit into that category. Well, there is three that could sit into that category, which is more than I would have done before. So maybe that helps soften it. I don't know. I guess, my definition of blues is, probably maybe a bit different to other people, but, maybe a lot of people will say like Blackstone Cherry are bluesy, in some ways. So, there's some elements of that kind of thing in there that like, the similar kind of vibe to them maybe on a couple of the songs. So, yeah, maybe I could accept that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Because I didn't want to offend you there, like, because as I said, the bluesy bit was very much. There was like, I suppose, for me, an underlying element of it more than it's right there in your face.
I guess the thing is, obviously, I was in the blues world, and I've been involved, fairly heavily in it. Playing in a band, Supersonic Blues Machine, with some absolute like blues legends. I was toured as part of like a three kind of guitar player bill with Johnny Lang and Walter Trout, again, two other like blues legends. I think if they listen to the Monsters We Made album, like if typical blues fans listen to it, I don't think they would count it as a blues album. But I think maybe people with like more of like a generic view of music could maybe hear some blues influences. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I want to start with, let's start at the beginning of the album with the title track, and of course, excuse me, the first song on the record, which is, Monsters We Made. Now, it's a huge way to open the record, both musically, and lyrically. Exploring the idea of becoming, your own worst enemy in some instances, as I understand it. And you've described it as featuring one of your favourite guitar solos on the album so far. So why did Monsters We Made feel like the right song to open the album with? And did you always know that it would set the tone for everything that was going to follow?
Yeah, I guess, the fact is the title track. Like I always like to open an album with a bang, and I like to end an album with a bang. I think there's kind of like a bit of a modern approach these days so I believe, with albums, to kind of front load and have kind of all the best songs at the start, and then it just to gradually get weaker. Whereas I've not always, I like to like have like an album as like a cohesive thing, a cohesive like body of works. There's kind of a mood story throughout, it goes up, it comes back down and goes back up. And I always like to end on a bang, which I did with the song on this album, Levitate. It's fast paced, heavier song, possibly the heaviest on the album, to start with bang. But to answer your question, to start with Monsters We Made, yeah, it's got one of my favorite choruses that I've written. I think, I see it as a fairly, catchy song, and it's probably, I kind of see it as having all what I count as the stereotypical KBB kind of elements in there, with the riffs, solo, and the the big chorus. The solo section I like. I think I feel like it kind of flips the song on its head a little bit. Up to that point, it's kind of just like a fairly straightforward, simple, straight head hard rock song. And then the solo section with the breakdown and going into some more fancy guitar work. I think it's quite a cool thing to do, in my opinion, on something which, is probably a bit more of just like a standard straight hard rock tune,
Yeah. I mean, I do agree with you, the fact that it is a banger of an opening song, and You know, I think I understand what you mean, like the strongest songs at the beginning and it sort of peters out a little bit. And I can understand why people might do that, but I always do like that one definitive track that closes it out, that really just sort of brings you back to the beginning almost. But, you know, the opening tune, yeah, it's spot on. I'm going to give you credit right now for that. Now,
Thank you.
one thing I found really interesting is that by release day, fans will have probably heard, you know, will have heard pretty much the first five tracks of the album. Now, most bands do tend to sort of spread the singles throughout the record, um, so it feels more like a statement of intent before listeners discover the second half. This is what this one feels like. Was that always the plan to sort of give them the first half as more of a statement, I guess? And why did you choose those particular songs that would, you know, to make up that introduction to the monsters we made?
Well, it's interesting, really, because it hasn't happened the way that maybe what you thought it happened. So I didn't choose the singles. I kind of put through songs that I thought were the strongest songs for singles, but you know, there's people involved that are much more experienced than me. You know, Earache Records have been around a long time. They know what they're doing. The radio plugger Austin Collins is world class, and he knows what works for radio. So whilst I put forward like my suggestions, I leave it up to people that know better than me to pick. You know, I always find it hard to judge my own music anyway, and my opinion of my own music isn't necessarily how the wider world would see it. So I put my faith and my trust into those guys. So actually, the track listing was done long before the singles were actually chosen. So that is actually just a coincidence.
Fair enough.
Yeah, purely accidental. So I didn't really have anything to do. I said I put forward some suggestions. Some were taken on board, some weren't. But you know, I like. There's not a song on the album that I hate and would be upset if someone picked it as a single. Like I said, I find it hard to judge my own music sometimes. You know, I come at it from a very, very different point of view to what someone hearing it for the first time will. Obviously, we've released a fair few singles. We kind of had to get one out pretty quickly because we needed something around the Smith Kotzen tour that we did earlier this year in like February time. So we put All Falls Down out first, which is obviously, you know, it's quite a long time ahead of the album release, talking like, you know, 6 months ahead of the album release. But we needed like a song to promote whilst we were on the tour throughout the UK and Europe with those guys. So yeah, it's been like a fairly long campaign, really. How many has it been so far? I'm trying to think now. Yeah, it has. So All Falls Down, Unspoken, Right of One, Beautiful Lies just come out, and obviously, yeah, Monsters We Made. Yes, it's five
Yeah.
tracks by the release date. Yeah, yeah, it's quite a lot, isn't it? It's also like, you know, you look at how like a lot of the modern bands are doing things now. You know, take one of the biggest bands of recent years, like Sleep Token. They're releasing like the whole album as singles before the album comes out. And it's actually a sensible way to do things in the digital age, because every time you release a single, you have a shot at the playlists on, you know, on the big DSPs like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. And, you know, being on one of the big playlists can do a lot for you on those platforms. It gets you out to a lot of people. If you release an album, you can only choose one focus track which gets submitted. So if you were to release 10, like an album individually, you essentially get 10 tracks, 10 goes to get on these playlists. Whereas if you just release like 2 singles and then release an album, you get the 2 singles that have a shot, and then you get to pick one focus track, and then the rest of the album's just on there as an album. It won't get chosen for playlists. So I mean, we haven't ended up getting on any big playlists, so it hasn't made an ounce of difference. But hey, that's it. That's the game we play.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that you mentioned, you know, the digital era. So I'm actually going to go off script a little bit because I'm always fascinated by people's thoughts about how we consume music has evolved. And I often wonder, even though I'm from a generation that loves to have an actual album, be it digitally or on a CD or record, how do you feel? Do you think albums, full albums, still have a place in this world, or when it's so, I use the term loosely, easy to release a single into the world for people in the digital age?
Yeah, it's personal preference, isn't it? I mean, I don't I don't listen to any physical media personally. Everything I listen to is digital now. I don't have any kind of, I don't have a CD player or vinyl player. Whereas when I was younger, yeah, it was my favorite thing to do, to go down to, the CD store, record store at the weekends, and pick a couple albums out, and go and listen to them and read the booklet. I used to love doing that. It's not a pastime of mine now. I don't actually listen to a massive amount of music, to be honest, these days. Yeah, which I don't know. Maybe that's like when you're in it and live in it. I don't know. I tend to like listen to podcasts and things like that more than actual music these days.
Yeah, that's fair. Now, getting back on track, because I do want to talk about the latest single, Beautiful Lie, which so far is my personal favourite on the record. And it, as I understand it, it's about betrayal and being lied to so convincingly that you almost have to admire, how it was pulled off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's incredibly melodic, and you've said it's one of the songs that you find yourself humming when you're in your house, as I understand. When you're writing songs like that, how important is it for you to balance those darker subject matters with melodies that people can't help but sing along to and enjoy and become earworms, essentially?
Yeah, it's not really a thought process of mine. I don't necessarily think of it that way. I don't think I put quite as much thought into it as that. I think it's what comes out comes out. I write songs in lots of different ways. Sometimes lyrics get written first and then fit to a song. Sometimes songs are written and then I write the lyrics and the melody to it. Like the music's written first and then I come up with stuff over the top of it. Sometimes, I'll come up with a chorus that I just sing and then fit chords and the music to it. There's lots of different approaches that I take to songwriting. But I can't say that I necessarily think about light and dark or anything like that. It's just whatever happens and comes out naturally. I mean, with that song in particular, it was a result of a writing session with Josiah, who's in the band. He's the producer of the album. He runs an amazing studio down in Plimpton in Devon, Momentum Studios. We'd had a little session down there, writing some ideas. This was one of those, but we didn't have a melody. We had a melody for the verse, but we didn't have anything for the chorus that I was happy with that we came up whilst we were there. We recorded like a quick rough demo. I took it home and then I sat with it for a few days, and that's when I came up with the melody, and then pretty much at the same time I'd started writing the lyrics, and it's just what came out. No preconceived notion about what the song was going to be about or whether it was going to be a darker subject matter or anything like that. It's just what came out as I was writing the melody, really, and kind of the melody and the lyrics kind of all happened at the same time.
You know what? In a weird kind of way, I think that can make the best tunes where you're not specifically trying to say, I need to write about this, when you let, I suppose, the creative juices flow. So, yeah, I could appreciate that quite a lot, actually.
Maybe it's something that's done subconsciously. Who knows?
It's possible.
But I try to not be too preconceived for anything.
Yeah. Now, the reaction to the first 5 songs, it's already had quite a positive impact, from what I've heard from people. Looking beyond them, though, is there any unreleased tracks that you're particularly excited for fans to hear because, you think it might surprise people or perhaps become a favourite once everyone has had the chance to listen to the full album?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Maybe Other Side. I think people might enjoy that. I think it's a pretty epic song. It's probably the most epic of it on the album, I'd say. But it's interesting. I've been doing like a bunch of these kind of things, interviews, like radio, magazine, podcasts, and things. And one thing that has surprised me is that a lot of people have mentioned to me what their favorite tracks are, and it's most of the time it's different. You know, there's been some songs in there that I'd consider, you know, oh, it's an album track. It's got a flavour that suits the album, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was like one of the best songs. And people going, oh, that's my favourite song, which is really cool. It's really interesting, and I'd say that's probably more. This has happened to me more so on this album than any album previously. You know, previous albums, you might get one or two people that would mention like one of the more obscure tracks as their favorite, but most people would lean towards, you know, the bigger kind of single songs, like, oh yeah, that's the best song. But on this one, it's been really interesting. Like, probably every song on the album, I've had, you know, someone in the media say that's their favorite one. So yeah, it's quite interesting. But if I had to pick one, I'd say Other Side. Like, I think that's one that, you know, I think it's quite a special song. And I love the solo section over the orchestral parts. I think Josiah did such an amazing job with that. Yeah, I think it's epic.
I mean, it's interesting you say that because obviously I've said my favourite so far is A Beautiful Lie because I've not had the opportunity to listen to the full record yet. So
Yeah.
that track you've mentioned, you've got me excited to hear now. And I think it also highlights how subjective music actually is. You know,
Yeah,
you
for sure.
said, you know, people sort of said these are the song tunes that will do the best. But that, to me, that doesn't always resonate that as fact, if you know what I mean, because it could, you know, what someone thinks is going to be terrific could be completely different. Um,
Yeah.
anyway, I want to move on to, you know, working with Josiah because obviously he's a member of the band. He plays guitar and I believe the keyboards as well. But he also produced this record. How does having someone inside the band producing the album influence the creative process? And, you know, does it make everything easier because everyone already understands the vision, or does it sometimes make it challenging for everyone when their ideas are felt to be more important, perhaps?
No, not at all. I mean, the thing is about Josiah, you know, yeah, I kind of get asked this question a lot, like, but I think people don't always understand the dynamics of what Kris Barras band is, and maybe the dynamics between Josiah and I. You know, it's not like a normal situation where, oh, the guitarist in the band is producing the record. Like, Josiah is a producer. He was a producer first. He did my Divine and Dirty album before he joined the band. The other thing to note is that, you know, I am technically a solo artist and all the guys are hired musicians. Whilst I use the same guys, like, you know, I've had these guys with me now as this lineup for, you know, a good 3-4 years now. And I don't want it to change. They're all absolutely amazing. Josiah's been with me the longest, but he was a producer first and foremost. He, you know, owns an amazing studio, as I said, in Plimpton, and yeah. So there's that side of things. The other thing is, you know, we're best mates. We've become like really, really good friends over the years. You know, I was best man at his wedding, and we're super close. And he knows how to get the best out of me. He knows like when I'm starting to get pissed off. He knows when, you know, maybe it's time to take a break. He knows how I work, and he knows how to word things to me to get the best out of me. You know, things like that. Which is really, really important. It's a very important skill as a producer. You know, it's when you're in the studio for 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it may be doing an album, sometimes longer. Like, you know, it can. But there's days that get tested. You know, there's days where you'll be tired, or, you know, something's just not coming out right. You don't feel as, you know, you might get inside your own head, you know, and think you're not doing as good. And he's very good at working with that. On this album in particular, he really did do an amazing job because he had to pick up a lot of slack. My mum actually died suddenly, like the day before we had to start recording in the studio. So it meant that I couldn't be around the studio as much as I would normally. Normally, I'd be there from the first day to the end and be there for all the drum tracking and be there for everything. But I couldn't for this, so he had to kind of. I only went in on the times where I had to do my parts, and he did it with the guys, got them tracking together, and yeah, and he did an amazing job. So he had to pick up a lot. Not that I would have been doing much, but, you know, he had to. He made a lot of. I give all the production credit all to him. He made, you know, all the kind of recording decisions because I wasn't around for it. I just came in to perform my parts and go because I had a lot to deal with.
Yeah. Well, first of all, just let me say, like, offer my condolences. I'm really sorry to hear about your mum, because that's always a tough thing to deal with, especially when you're trying to work and you've got these deadlines. So,
Yeah.
really sorry about that. Now, something that has really stood out to me is just how busy you've made the release period for the record. So the album arrives, and then literally the same day it drops, you've got acoustic in-store appearances. You're traveling all around the country, sometimes playing two of these sort of shows in one day, and then you'll be heading out in October on a full UK headline tour. Now, a lot of bands will probably, take a moment to celebrate the release of the record. But in your case, you've just gone, I suppose, for the best way of putting it, balls to the wall, let's go and do lots and lots of stuff. So, how did this schedule sort of come together, and why was it important for you to celebrate the album by getting straight out in front of the fans?
Well, I mean, first of all, I didn't choose the schedule.
All right, fair.
I had nothing to do with that. Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy schedule. It's like 2 shows a day and some mad journeys. Yeah, look, we did it on the last album, the acoustic in stores, and it's great fun. I love doing the songs in that setting. Josiah's coming with me, playing the piano, and vocally in particular, I really enjoy performing songs this way. And I like kind of like the informal, intimate nature of it. It tends to be good fun. I have a bit of a joke and a laugh with the audience, and get to meet lots of people, and we do all the sign-in stuff, and yeah, it's great fun. Yeah, I said I did it for the first time on the last album, and we enjoyed it, and I said that I was up for doing it. I said I'll do whatever. You just crack on. And then my manager came back to me with the schedule and was like, oh, all right, okay. Fair enough. So yeah, it's going to be pretty mad. The October tour's, standard tour. It's nothing too crazy. So yeah, that's going to be really good fun. Looking forward to getting back out there. It's our first headline tour in the UK for about 2 years, actually. So yeah, that'd be cool to get out there and play some of the new songs.
Cool. Now, next up, we're actually going to go on the Ampocalypse. So we have been talking about the monsters we made throughout, the album, and those monsters represent, struggles with, emotions a lot of the time. But for today on Ampocalypse, we're going to leave the metaphorical monsters behind, because this time humanity is facing a monster unlike it's ever seen. So a colossal kaiju has emerged from the depths of the ocean, and civilization is on the brink of collapse. So I'm going to set the scene for you. Without a word of warning, as I said, a colossal kaiju has risen from the ocean, standing hundreds of feet tall and seemingly impossible to kill. It has spent the last few months flattening cities across the globe. Governments have fallen, military forces have failed, and most of humanity now survives in small, isolated communities. Never knowing really when the creature might appear. And somehow, of course, Kris Barras has survived. I don't know why somehow, because it's you're going to survive this. So, welcome to your Ampocalypse, sir. So the first question I've got for you. You've got 5 minutes before the kaiju reaches your town. What's the very first thing you do, and what mistakes do you think everyone else is making?
I'm not sure I even understand the question, to be honest.
Oh, sorry.
What? Sorry, you're gonna have to. So I don't even know what the thing is that's come out of the water. I'm sorry.
Kaiju,
You've
think
lost me.
Godzilla style thing.
Right. And what have I got to do?
So the question is, what's the very first thing you do, and what mistakes do you think everyone else is making? So this is sort of the apocalyptic side of the interview for a bit of fun.
Right. I have no idea. I'm not very good with things like that. I'm a very logical, real life kind of person. I'm not very good with coming up with hypothetical situations. Oh man, you put me on the spot. I don't know. Sorry.
No.
I'm not very good at hypothetical things. I don't even know what to say. What would I do if 100 foot got it? I mean, I'm not going to be able to fight it, am I? That's what would normally be my first thing that I would do if I was under threat. I'm not going to win a jiu-jitsu battle against a 100 foot being. I'm probably a fairly fast runner for a 41-year-old. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably just sit there and accept my fate. I'd say I know which battles to choose and which ones I'm going to win and which I'm going to lose, and I'd probably accept it. I'm just gonna go. Yeah, so maybe I could have a go. I could have a fight, and then whatever happens, happens. Say, so I'll go out on my shield, go down swinging. That's a lyric in one of my songs. So yeah, why not?
Why not? I think I'd like to see you fight a Godzilla style monster. I think the guy he'll be screwed. Let's be honest.
That's the craziest question I've ever been asked in an interview.
Sorry. Well, like this is the point of the apocalypse section. It's about throwing someone into a weird apocalyptic situation for a bit of fun.
Right.
So if you're happy to continue with it, like,
go on then.
yeah.
I'll do my best.
So eventually you do need to find somewhere to settle. Are you hiding underground, heading for the mountains, or are you taking your chances by the coast? Or are you going to constantly stay on the move?
I'm fairly fit these days. I'm training every day. So I would say I'm going to be constantly on the move. I'm going to try my best to be as sneaky and as nimble as possible. The coast would be quite easy. I live less than a mile away from several beaches. So that would be fairly easy. But I think I'll stay on the move. Like I say, I've got the cardio these days, so I reckon I could keep going for a good amount of time.
Cool. Now, of course, fuel is becoming almost impossible to find. Everyone's arguing over petrol cars, electric cars, motorbikes, even bicycles. What are you choosing to get around, or are you just going to stick to your feet?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I have no kind of skills in mechanics. I wouldn't be able to hotwire a vehicle or do anything like that. I could steal a vehicle off a driveway if I could get into the house. I could probably break a window and get into a house and steal some car keys. Yeah, maybe do something like that. Steal a car off a drive by breaking into the house and getting the keys. Go as far as I can and then do the rest on foot. That might give me enough. I'll get a nice sports car, get enough of a head start on the big bugger, and then go on to foot.
Nice. I think I'm with you on the sports car. Mine would be a Ford Mustang. It's been my dream car ever since I was little.
Nice.
So by the
It's
time I
loud,
can own
though.
it,
That's loud.
true.
You run the risk of them hearing you. I reckon a sneaky little Tesla might be the answer. Well, then,
So going for the
I don't know
electric.
how long. How long the charge lasts. I don't know.
Now, you get one chance to rescue another musician before civilization collapses. Now, you can choose anyone throughout history, dead or alive. And who would you be choosing, and what role do you think they would play in your survival?
Interesting. Well, I like my food, so I'd maybe like some. Well, I like normal food, so I was going to say someone like Bear Grylls because they'd be able to find stuff that he knows that you'd be able to eat. Did he say alive or dead?
Alive or dead?
Or they got to be dead? Yeah,
No,
dead
it
or
would be alive or dead.
All right, someone like Bear Grylls would obviously come in handy to be able to let me know what I can eat, what I can't. But then he also makes you eat pretty disgusting stuff. So, I'm going to go with Bear Grylls because he's the only person that I know that's a survival expert, and I think that would come in handy.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to chuck Gordon Ramsay your way as well because he knows how to cook some good meals as well.
He knows how to cook some good meals, but you're going to have to acquire the right ingredients and be in a place where you can get hold of those. Whereas with Bear, if you wanted to go out on the moors or somewhere like that, somewhere more remote where the creature wouldn't find you, yeah. No, I'm gonna stick. I'll stick with Bear. Yeah.
Cool. Now, of course, years later, children born after this kaiju attack you know, they've always got one question: what was the world like before? What's one thing from our modern life that would sound completely unbelievable to them in your mind?
Hey, I mean, there's a lot of things, right? I remember watching Back to the Future when I was a kid, and they had the video call thing, and now we can do
Yeah, here
things like
we
this
are.
on this little device in our pockets. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think the description of social media would probably be quite interesting. You know, people selfies, describing a selfie to someone that had never seen a selfie before. Uh, yeah, they are taking a selfie and applying a filter and posting it several times a day. Would, you know, the modern social media world. I'm to go for that. I can't think of anything else.
Ah, that's fair. I could take that. Well, Chris, I want to thank you so much for chatting to us today. I think it's safe to say, because you were very serious with this, you have definitely survived the apocalypse. Because
Thank you.
at the end of the day, there was no madness, there was no crazy stuff, except for maybe fighting like 100-foot monster, which
Yeah, that
I
was.
still want to see. But
Yeah,
I think it's safe to say you've survived. Uh, Again, thanks so much for chatting to us. Good luck with the release of Monsters We Made. I personally can't wait to hear the full album. And good luck on the, I suppose, mini tour record store thing. And good
nice one.
luck for the tour. Thank you so much, my friend. Take
Top
care,
man.
man.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Bye.
Cheers, mate.